Okay, we're here tonight with four longtime residents of Herculaneum, and we're going to start the series of interviews that we did some back in 2007, 17 years ago. It's hard to believe, but we're going to start a new series of interviews to try to recapture and the history of Herculaneum and growing up and living here. And tonight we have Rick Simpson, Mike Burlage, Barb Burlage Thurby, and Lynn Naucke Ohnesorge.
All right, let's roll.
Okay, again, the idea here is I try to record the history of what Herculaneum was, and as these people grew up here, I know all of them, so a lot of things I know what you're talking about. So I guess we'll start off and we'll just kind of go down the row. And Rick, how long have you lived in Herculaneum and were you born here?
I was born in St. Louis, but yeah, born here, been here for 66 years. And I was gone a year.
Mike?
Oh, hey, hello. I was born in St. Louis naturally because there were no hospitals around here, but I've been living in Herculaneum all my life, 29 years. Actually 67 years.
Barb?
I also was born in St. Louis. I lived in Herculaneum 18 years, and I moved to Kentucky after I graduated from high school, just a couple months, and I have been in Kentucky ever since.
I was born in St. Louis and I was here until 1980, and then I left and moved to Texas, and I came back in 1992, and I've been here ever since.
Okay, thank you. Where'd you live in Herculaneum, Rick? What streets and, or?
When I was born, we were over on Lake Drive by the golf course. Then we moved up on Scenic Drive across from the old Bonacker farm. And I now preside on golf course drive, over by the golf course.
Okay, Mike, where have you lived?
I have lived on Church Street till I was 24, moved up to Curve Street, lived there 10 years. Then I reside now up on 485 Main Street, which I've been up there 35 years.
Barb?
My 18 years were spent on Church Street.
Lynn?
I was, lived on 21 Main Street, and then I moved up to 306 Main Street.
Okay. Rick, who were your parents?
My father was Bert Simpson, nicknamed Pete Simpson. He was actually born over on Mott Street in the house. And my mom is Jane Simpson. She was from St. Louis.
Mike?
My
And
parents,
We do have the same parents.
we do. Edward Francis Burlage was my father, and Sarah Marie Burlage, her maiden name was Higgins.
Okay, and I know your dad had a nickname.
My dad's nickname was Polly. Let's see, I believe they lived in Herculaneum till their death. They was born. My dad was born in 1912 and passed away in 1975. At that time there, he was the second oldest seniority at the St. Joe Lead Factory. And my mother, she was born in 1924 and passed away in 2004. She grew up on Circle Street in Herculaneum.
Lynn?
My dad was William A. Naucke, known as B. Naucke, or Snaz, and my mother was Mary E. Naucke, and she was from Karnak, Illinois.
Okay, was your dad born in Herculaneum?
Born and raised and he was born on the Naucke farm over there where Cracker Barrel is.
Okay. How many generations of your family have lived there? How far back do they go?
As far as I know, my grandparents on dad's side were the first ones. So I am the third generation.
Yeah, as far as far as I know, on the Burlage side, what, 1860s maybe? Those would have been my great grandparents, and I don't know about the Higgins. Do you know much? How many? That would be 3 generations.
No, now mom's parents, I thought, lived on Circle Street.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know any farther back than that.
Mary Lynn?
Okay, my grandfather came over from Germany with 5 brothers. And my great-great-great-grandmother was, Mary Polly Payton, and she was on the trail, the Cheers, and stayed in Missouri. And then they started when they got here, Grandpa worked at Me's Bakery, and he was a fisherman on the Mississippi. And Grammy worked for Vineyards Funeral Home in downtown Herculaneum.
Both businesses that a lot of people remember. Did your parents go to school at the Herculaneum schools?
My dad graduated in 1933.
Mike, Barb?
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
I know my dad went to school here. I don't know that he finished
Yeah.
school because I have some of his report cards. He always told us he was a straight A student, but that was not the case.
I'm pretty sure Mike has a couple, Letterman sweaters.
Yeah, he graduated from high school, I believe. I have his Letterman sweater with 4 bars on the basketball team, so I'm assuming he's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior on the ball team. And I believe my mother just went to 8th grade in school.
Rick? I'm sorry.
But they did go to Herculaneum school, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad, went all the way through Herky and graduated, he was born in 29, so that's too much ciphering for me.
Did your parents own or operate any business in Herculaneum at any time?
My dad operated, the Herculaneum lumberyard there. Cottmeyer's bought it. He worked up there right out of high school. And then when they opened the store, which was Crescent Supply, I don't know what it is now, but he, managed that for him.
Yeah, I remember him being the manager there. Mike or Barb?
Well, our mother operated a cafe in Herculaneum for a year or so, called Marie's Cafe. We spent a lot of hours there playing the pinball machine, and doing dishes, serving food. Back then, a plate was $1 a plate. The cafeteria was open at Doe Run. The workers could leave the premises at that time and come over and eat. We'd serve how many 150 plates maybe at lunch or
We
something.
worked hard. I remember Betty and I, one of us would work at the cafe in the morning before school, one would work after school. So every other day, we went to school smelling like bacon and eggs. That piece of pie was $1. I mean, we slung out a lot of food there.
Yep. I believe that was like in 68 or 69. I was in sixth grade then, and that we actually had our birthday party down at that cafe. I think Rick might even gave us a hamster down there. Yeah. So Patty got a hamster. I have a twin sister, Patty, so she got a hamster and I got a hamster, and their name was Happy Birthday. So yeah, that was a good memory down
Tom
at the
McCord
cafe.
still talks about that restaurant. The food there was good. Where was it located?
It was located down on, I guess, is that Station Street there?
Yeah.
Station Street, probably 3 or 4 doors down from the old Shelley Drug. Down there, you had Shelley Drug, then you had the post office, then you had
There was a tavern
then you had
in there somewhere.
Rush's Tavern towards the end, then was Butch Rapp's insurance agency, then I think that was Marie's Cafe there.
Yeah, I believe that's.
And then if you'd keep going, there was an old shoe collar place there, and then Fex was on the end.
Yeah. Mary Lynn, your parents?
Dad worked at St. Joe, and my mom had a wallpapering company on the side. They
Did
did
not know that.
all the senior citizens, they wallpapered their houses for the cost of the paper. They didn't charge them anything. Mrs. Chapman and all them people, they did all their houses.
Okay, I think we just answered this about working in Herculaneum. So, you have any siblings that also grew up Rick?
I had a brother that was killed in a car wreck at 17, so after that, it was just myself.
Mike, I know you and Barb have others.
Go ahead, Barbara. You take-
Well, Donna's the oldest, and then there's myself, and then Betty, and then Patty and Mike, and our youngest sister Fran.
They all
we-
went to Herculaneum
Mhm.
School.
And I have a sister Darlene, a brother Billy, my brother Jimmy, and then me.
Okay. How about grandchildren?
I, got twin granddaughters, they're 27, 28 in June. But, they graduated Herculaneum, so they were the fourth generation to graduate Herculaneum High School.
Cool. Mike, Barb?
Well, I have 15 grandchildren with some blended ones in there, and then I have one great grandchild. But I've only had one of them graduate from Herky High School, and another one should graduate this year, so we got a bunch.
I just have 2 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
Then,
None. Okay. Growing up in Herculaneum, what type of activities did you participate in outside of school?
A lot of bicycle riding, and, yeah, Little League was big back in the day in Herky. Trap piles, we're just running around, that's all we did.
Mike?
Yeah, we was involved in a little league all the way from 5 years old to 15 years old. Rode a lot of bikes, had mini bikes. We rode around played on the chat piles, ice skated on the creek in the wintertime. Climbed all the bluffs from Peewee all the way to Crystal City, walked the tracks, shot garters off the trestle.
Yeah.
We did a lot of fishing. Wow, we didn't have the video games to play with back then, and I don't even know if we had a TV, tell you the truth. I believe we did, but I wouldn't call
Black
it
and
much.
white.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it much of a TV, but
Did you participate in any of the shooting of guards and rats at the city dump?
oh yeah, we had. I didn't have a 22 at the time, but we had a BB gun. And we shot a lot of BBs out of that puppy. Just stuff you could do back then without being in trouble, and a lot of people did it. We would Halloween we would soak people's house cars and TP, throw corn, water balloons, just the good old days back then. I don't know, just bicycle tag. We played bottle cap ball out in the streets. We played softball and baseball out in the fields next to our houses. Just a lot of just good stuff.
Barb, do you remember outside activities?
Well, like you said, we rode bicycles all over town. Collected soda pop bottles and cashed them in. We walked the tracks to Festus. We'd go there to do school shopping, so we'd buy some socks. Mom would come over and pick us up. Did the bowling alley. We sometimes we'd go to the bowling alley, and but kids played together. You could get a set of kids together to play a ball game in 10 minutes. And we were outside a lot. Street lights came on, you went home.
I was in Girl Scouts. I had to sing in the church choir. I wasn't allowed to be on the street because of my brothers. But we played wiffle ball all the time, and the sleigh riding hill was the hill at our house. We did the bonfire at the top of the hill and slid around Circle Street.
It's a pretty good hill.
It was a good hill.
I should have asked you this a while ago. What year did you graduate from Herky High School?
I graduated in 1975.
1975.
Well, this is one thing Mike and I don't have in common. I graduated in 1970.
I graduated in 75, and my brother graduated in 70 with Barb.
Yeah, I always try to bring people together that are kind of in the same age group and would know things. Would you participate in high school?
I played basketball, baseball. I was probably the worst actor in the senior play in the history of Herculaneum High School.
You know, homecoming?
Hmm?
Homecoming?
Homecoming candidate, prom candidate, that's about it.
Student council.
Not much to talk about.
Mike?
In high school, I did track and gymnastics. I think I was in Industrial Arts Club, Thespian Club. There was probably some other ones in there too. But I actually broke the school record in pole vault my senior year.
Has it been broken since?
Oh yeah, about 10 times. Yeah. But I was like on the top 15 or 20 still. It would be 50 years next year we went to school. So that was 12'7", which is actually I broke Bill Carter's pole vault record. He was at 12'6". So I would give him.
Still hear about it
I
today.
still give him one that.
Bill was real proud of that.
Bill was a good athlete. He had records up there for a lot of years. He was the last man. So.
He was an athlete in
Yeah.
many things.
Yeah. But I don't know what else I did. Just a lot of normal stuff. You know, we went to the dances. We went to Sadie Hawkins dances. We went to the homecoming dances, prom.
And your wife, Michelle, was homecoming queen?
Yeah, my wife was a homecoming queen in 1976. No, 77. I guess it was actually 76 when they did it, but it was, her class was 77. My daughter was a homecoming
Oh, yeah.
queen. Sarah's in 2001 or so. That was pretty neat. They just had a big celebration with all the queen candidates and king candidates this year at the high
At the
school.
homecoming, yeah.
It's pretty nice, yeah.
Barb?
Well, I participated in track, tried real hard. Band, I was in the National Honor Society, and I believe I was in FBLA, and I was in the junior play. I was also a cheerleader for several years, and just went to the dances and did whatever I could. Probably stood along the sideline a whole lot.
Mary Lynn?
I was in track, I was in National Honor Society, I was in the French Club, and track.
Okay. Favorite teachers? Have any favorite teachers that stand out to you?
I mean, you gotta start off with Hilda Kaufman. She was my dad's teacher when he was in school. She was my kindergarten teacher, and then she was our English teacher and stuff our senior year in school.
Yep.
Mrs. Parker, you can't forget about Mrs. Parker. She was, she did all the vests and stuff for the Cub
Yeah.
Scouts, Boy Scouts, Webelos. There's one, Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Burris was probably one of the best teachers I had.
Yep.
Shoot, then you go, we went to Peebly our 7th grade year while they were building this, so Mr. Benny Bose, and that's where I got most of my whoopings at. It's got where I got my only whoopings at, was 7th grade, I'm that's, I mean, there's just a lot of Mr. Gray.
Mr.
there's-
Jarvis.
Yeah, Fred and Ralph Eichholz, they were, Fred was Ralph was good, but,
I had them all.
yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, people think it's odd, but I can remember my teachers all the way from kindergarten all the way up. In kindergarten, I had Miss Kaufman, 1st grade Miss Riley, 2nd grade Miss Eichholz, 3rd grade Miss Bogue, 4th grade Miss Parker, 5th grade Miss Larkin, 6th grade Miss Burris, 7th grade like Rick said, we went over to
They
Peebly
split us
there.
all
We,
up.
or like our homeroom teacher was Miss Clay then. We had 3 or 4 other ones. Mr. Benny Bowles, Mr. Favor, and Mr. Messerschmidt, Mr. Jones for
Frank.
Mr.
Frankie.
Jones for art that time, and then we went into 8th grade. We had Miss Cassida, and then all the teachers, like Mr. Eichels, Mr. Wegmans. There's a few more I could sit there and keep naming them, I think. But my one of my favorite teachers was my industrial art teacher, Ted Hutto. He said, "You can call me Mr. Hutto. My friends call me Ted, but you can call me Mr. Hutto, Hutto." And but he was a good teacher. Then Clark Willie, he was a new teacher at the time, and he took over a lot of sports activities over there and made a lot of good athletes for some of the people in school there. I remember Mr. Worstell, he was a football coach back then, and Mr. Hart was a basketball coach, and
Stott,
Mr. Bill Stotler, Mr. Gray, the one that, what was his first name? The one that had a bad eye.
Jack,
Yeah.
Mr. Jack Gray,
Jack Gray, then you had
Robert Gray.
Robert Gray, yeah, we, just, yeah, I mean, I liked school, I had a good time in school, so, I don't know why I remember them, I just do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, yeah.
Barb, you have any favorites you remember, or?
Well, I guess everybody started off with Mrs. Kaufman and ended up with Mrs. Kaufman.
I actually had her 4 times. I had her for
Twice.
8th grade kindergarten, 8th grade art, junior English, senior English.
I skipped senior English and kindergarten. I actually went to the Catholic school for my 1st grade year and part of my 2nd grade. I had Mother Mary Edward, and something happened and we were pulled out of the Catholic school and went to the public school mid 2nd grade year, and I had Mrs. Worchin, which she had also taught my dad,
Right, yeah.
which, I mean, she was old, okay?
When you went to Assumption, they didn't have kindergarten, right? So you went to Herky.
I went to Herky for kindergarten.
Then,
Assumption was a 2-room school, 1st through 4th, 5th through 8th. I was in one room, Donna was in the other. Kind of an open concept teaching. So I knew how to write in cursive, I could multiply, add, divide, subtract. And when I went to 2nd grade, you had to kind of toss that all aside and go back to adding single digits, printing. I mean, it was a big adjustment, and of course, I knew some kids, but not a whole lot, it was different. But I pretty much, I had Mrs. Larkin, I believe, for 4th grade, and Mr. Rim for 5th, and I had Mrs. Mason for 6th grade year, and,
Mr. Rim was a tough guy.
yeah. And, it was, but basically, I feel like it was all probably pretty much the same going through. New teachers, I remember Mr. Napier
Yeah.
as biology teacher, Mr. Dees was my chemistry teacher, and I remember Karita Bess and I sat behind one another. We were both cheerleaders, so we both conversed on the test. But, it was a lot of good times.
Yeah. Mary Lynn?
Well, 1st grade, I had Mrs. Riley, and we were in the little school over here,
Douglas.
in the Douglas little school. We were the first class to go in there. And then Mrs. Eichenberger gave us all nicknames so that because she had all of our brothers and sisters, so we all ended up getting nicknames. We all had nicknames. She named everybody in the class. And then I went to school 11 years with at least one cast. My senior year was the only year I went to school without a cast. And I never got hurt playing sports.
Where'd you guys hang out in Herculaneum as a young person?
oh, you had Campus Inn, Liz Partney and Cecil ran, then what was the place down at the end of the,
Co-op or pub?
no, where the,
KP
Hall.
Hall?
yeah,
KP Hall, yeah.
yeah, KC Hall.
KP Hall, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Knights of the Pacific.
that's where you had the Halloween parties and stuff up.
Wintertime, it was at the golf course sleigh riding, burning tires,
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time at Shelley Grove,
Yeah.
Cherry soda.
Shelley Grove was a big thing for
Yeah.
just about everybody that was growing up.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we, Campus Inn was up there, and then we'd go bowling every now and then, but not very often, at the old 4-lane bowling alley where they set pins by hand still back there. Had one pinball machine in there. Like I said, we didn't go there very often. I don't know, we hung out the drugstore probably more than anything, and then we had a lot of activities at the KP Hall, birthday parties, a lot of scout meetings down
Fish
that way
fries.
too.
Did the laundromat on Sunday.
Yeah.
And, yeah. That's about all I can remember on that.
Barb? Same places?
Same places, like,
Yeah.
we walk down the alley with a wagon load of clothes every Sunday and spend our afternoon at the laundromat. But I mean, you know, it was kind of the same thing, you know, you just walk over town. I mean, you know, you went and visited friends and, you know,
With the Pussyterries,
yeah, Boats Market.
boats market up by the house now, yeah.
Yeah.
Mary Lynn, what did you do as a young person?
I was at church. And I wasn't allowed to the campus in, I went to KB Hall, cause that's where Mom and them did the fish fries and the elections and the Halloween parties, and we did the Christmas tree thing down by Shelley Drugs, that was a big thing.
Nobody's mentioned the library. Anybody hang out there?
I worked there, I didn't hang out there,
I
I
didn't
worked
hang
there,
out there.
I had a library card there.
I worked there.
I went and got a lot of books. There was a tree between our yard and Mr. Bones' yard. And you'd get Nancy Drew books or something of that sort. And I'd climb up in that tree and I'd read all day long. And just then you'd go back the next day and you'd get another set, you know?
And the theater had already burned before we were born,
Yeah.
but it was still there.
It was gone.
Diding's garage was still there, but it was burnt.
Did you tell me today that you worked at the
I
library?
worked at the library in the summertime. And I had to wipe all them stupid books down, and
The library had quite a
I tell you, there
quite a
was,
smell.
it was, and there, you know, there was probably some really valuable books in there,
Oh,
but
yeah.
when they started moving stuff around, you know, and then Mr. Burchett used to draw the Headless Horseman thing on the window, and we used to paint it every year.
Oh, Rick?
No, his dad did.
Oh, okay.
His dad drew it on there, and Rick, the Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, and the Girl Scouts took turns painting it every year.
Okay.
That
All
was a
right,
good thing.
as an adult, what have you participated in?
Herculaneum?
Basically now.
Well, I mean, a lot of time over at the Little League, my son coached my son, and a lot of other kids, and worked on the ball fields. We did the Bates Park, which is now Bates Park, we cleared all that. Mike and I were the committee heads on that one, start that park. Now I'm just, the AMVets.
I'll say the
Yeah,
AMVets.
quite busy with the AMVets, stirring up trouble still, so that's about it.
Mike, what have you done?
Well, I coached ball too. Rick's boy and my girls, we all coached ball together. We had different teams. We coached all the way up. I think I coached down there about 14 years with them girls. I mainly had the girls softball teams. Been a son of the AMVets for 40 to 45 years maybe, I'm not for sure. Been a member of the Elks for 40 plus years. Been on the Herculaneum City Council for a few years now. Just to help do some cleanup around town with different organizations here and there, but just do a lot of community oriented stuff, just
Don't forget your participation in the Veterans Parade with your train.
Yeah, I've been in quite a few parades. I enjoy that. I like getting my grandkids out there. And one of them said one year the Arnold was having a parade. Says, "Grandpa, we gotta go to the parade. They got one in Arnold today." I said, "Honey, we're just gonna have parades in Herculaneum." We're gonna go to." But yeah, they thought we were supposed to be in every parade, and we've had some good times in the parades. We've won a couple first place trophies. But I just like to try to get the younger kids involved in some of that stuff to just be more community orientated with them, just instead of sitting in their rooms playing video games. And so, yeah, we've been in parades. I mean, I even like taking them to the Twin City Day Parade down in Festus. I don't know, it's just different things like that, so.
Barb, you've been gone for a while,
I've
but
been
what
gone
have you
since
done?
1970.
I mean, what have you done?
Locally or where I live?
Where do you live?
Where I live? Well, I coached softball.
Played softball.
I played softball for many years. My kids were active in sports, so you know, you go to a lot of their activities. They were both active in sports, and my daughter was a cheerleader and on the drill team, and so I helped a lot with their whatever team they were on at any given time. right now I volunteer at a Christian outreach program. I still work 2 days a week, but I volunteer 1 day a week, and I just like to do things. But when Mike was talking about the parade, it made me think of the floats we used to make
Oh, yeah.
for the,
Homecoming.
Homecoming?
Crazy, yeah.
yeah, I hadn't thought about those in a long time. But I like to stay active, so I just do what I can.
Mary Lynn, what are you involved?
I was part of the park board, I was part of the event planning committee. I've been the one, work on the Veterans Parade. I'm the first person to argue with Bill Haggard. Or that's what they tell me anyway. And I do the Lady of the AMVETS, and I did, the cleanup on the streets in Herculaneum. I tried to take over what my mother was doing. That's the whole reason I got involved with the city.
And you're getting ready to leave us.
Yes, I'm leaving in 2 weeks.
Are there any memorable businesses or buildings you remember? You kind of alluded to some of them earlier, but,
Well, Mises Bakery was on Main Street. Dugan's Garage was on Main Street. The Square Dance Hall was on Main Street. Butter Simpson had his bar up there by our house. The original AMVETS was the old church on Circle Street behind our house. The theater, I said, it had already burnt before we started. And then the Ferry Road was always, everybody hung out on the Ferry Road. And then we had Effie's house across the street from Grammy's, where she sold her Avon, Effie Grishada. She was the Avon lady. And Vineyards when they opened their funeral home in Herculaneum, my grandfather was the first body.
yeah, and prior to them opening that, funerals were done in the home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, and my grandmother used to sit with the bodies.
Yeah.
Because you had to have somebody sit with the bodies all the time.
Barb, do you remember any memorable buildings? Or,
Well, I remember the library. I mean, we did, and I remember what Mary has said. We would go up to the Boats Market up there and Pussy Market. I remember the IGA's downtown before it moved to where it was at the end of the hill.
yeah, where the AMVETS
Yes.
are moving from.
I remember the old apartment buildings that was right past the IGA store. Because I remember when they tore those down, we would go down there and they paid us a penny a brick to clean the mortar off of the bricks. And, we thought we were making big money.
Yep.
But, things have really changed a whole lot,
Oh, yeah.
you
Mike, any memorable buildings or?
I got a list of. I mean, if you just, they're not here, but if you don't stop thinking about them, you just don't know them. But
Yep.
I mean, like I could start off with, Shelley Drugs, down there, the old laundromat, Jimmy Donnelly's barber shop downstairs. You had across from the funeral home, like Mary Lynn was saying, there was Iffy's. There was a shoe cobbler place there. I believe he worked on shoes or leather. Then, you had the Baptist church, which burnt. We had, the bowling alley downtown.
Assumption Church.
We had the old IGA downtown. We had the KP Hall. We had FEX.
Lupke's.
We had, the old Lupke's building. We haven't even mentioned the Green Lantern, which was Hoot Douglas's place with a gas station, a little bit in there. You had Cider Clues TV shop downtown. You had Lee's Tavern. You had Tacky Douglas. He had a sporting goods store downtown. Herky had a sporting goods store down there and a liquor store. You had Pete and Sis McGrain's laundromat. And we had, let's see, they got some more. Had the campus in, the old co-op. We had the old ball field across from which is the city, the high school high school administration building now. There was a really cool ball field there with neat dugouts there, light standers out there. They had ball games probably every weekend. You could go over there and find 20 soda bottles every Saturday or Sunday. It was great. Then you just take it across the street and you had 50 cents. Yeah, 50 cents in your pocket maybe there. Then you had the old Artesian Park down here that, I mean, they had lights strung around these trees, picnic tables out there, and I think the Ravenscraft made all of that. You just, I don't know, you might have paid $1, go down there and have a picnic all day long. It didn't flood like it did back then. There was some buildings right before you cross the highway, the bridge on 167 here. There was some apartment buildings there with, I remember Phyllis's restaurant or cafe being in there, and it was like a bar area in there, and then there was buildings there.
Yep.
Let's see, then,
At one time, those were called resorts
yeah,
along the Joachim Creek. And
because you had Miller Resort right across the highway there.
yeah,
The best,
You
yeah.
know, then you had the, like I said, the Artesian Park, and up on top of the hill, you had Sherman's house,
With the pool.
with the swimming pool. Up behind the Catholic church, there was a reservoir up there. It was I think it was St. Jolette's Reservoir. I don't really know how it was used. And then at one time, when you went into the Catholic church, you went in from off of Station Street instead of pulling in behind it. They did that. They changed that around. You had the Masonic Hall, which is no longer there. Then you had Lupke Supreme Service, which was across the street from, or right there by the Catholic church, basically. Right down here, we had the old LaCal Trailer Park. You had the trailer park up there off of Reservoir Street. You had right down here where Buckeye State, you had Theodore's, was it Boat and Guns or Gun and Boats?
one stop.
One stop is what it was called, that's right.
Theodore, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you don't see them things, they're gone, you don't really, they're just not there to see no more. Then like the Masonic Hall up there, it was a nice building, and Mrs. Algar, or Gaybar, her daughter got married up there, and she said that was the first building in Herculaneum that had air conditioning in the hall back then, back in the day, and I forget what year she got married, back in the 60s, I think she said, when she was in town. Then, of course, you go up like on top of Main Street where Mary Lynn was at, like she's saying, you had that whole row of businesses up there.
Yep.
I don't know, that's just some of them I got wrote down here.
Rick, I know.
I think Mike pretty well covered everything, but, I mean, I can go back to the old gymnasium at school. That's where,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I got to go watch Bill Bradley play basketball.
Yeah.
That was one of my highlights. Then St. Joe Lead Company's not there anymore. It's
Right.
half the town ain't, no, more than half the
Yeah.
town ain't there anymore. It's just, a lot of it's gone.
Well, we used to have the carnival every year,
Mhm.
Road
Yeah,
City
road.
Rides with the homecoming queens and everything for the city.
Mhm.
Fireworks.
Fireworks every year.
Yeah.
Yep.
You, remember, any activities taken, or events taking place on the riverfront?
Well, I don't really remember any, but I know whenever we was doing the park where Sidey Clue had that one brochure, and it had, they was having boat races down there actually on the riverfront. And the ferry road used to be 2 lanes all the way down
Yep.
to the boat ramp, I guess, where it is down there now. And, that was like in the 50s, I believe.
Yeah, the boat club was in the mid-50s. They had,
Yeah.
2 years, they had, boat races and skiing and acrobatic stuff. And then Doe Run wouldn't let them, or St. Joe wouldn't let them do anything permanent, so they moved to the Platten, Rock Boat Club in Crystal City. A lot of fishing down there too,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and probably a few other things. Best left.
Yep.
Yeah, you go
The
down there.
hobos used to live in the caves down there too.
You used to go down there and you'd shoot your target,
Oh,
your guns. You get your guns sighted in for deer season, or just go down there and shoot. There was this one big old tree and root wad there, and everybody would shoot right into that. Except when you wanted to shoot one across the river, and here it goes, zing, zing, zing. which is probably why they stopped that.
Yeah.
Could be.
But, yeah, I never did it.
Sure. Where'd you shop for clothing and shoes, groceries? And,
Color City
sundries?
Supply.
I mean, obviously, there are several grocery stores in town, either the IGA, but almost every
Lucky.
street had a small confectionery. And I talked about Concrete Town,
Yep.
and there were two, just in that little 2-block area.
Yep.
And you mentioned Vogue Market,
Yep.
Pussyterry's was in Concrete
Great
Town.
Yeah.
And Concrete Town was, St. Joe built all those houses for their workers to live in.
Right, mostly stucco,
Mhm.
because that's where the name.
Concrete
Came
Town
from.
came from.
But clothing and shoes was not really something that was available. Although Skeeter Byington sold shoes.
Shoes, we should, Aunt
Yeah.
Flossie showed shoes.
Yeah,
Aunt
and
Flossie sold shoes.
and
and purses.
I kind of remember back in the day that stuff like underwear and socks were sold at the IGA, but no real, clothing, shoes.
We always went to Color City.
Culver
Culver
City,
City or down on Main Street in Festus.
Yeah.
Big
Oh,
old
yeah.
ones and-
a lot of catalog Sears and
Yeah,
Montgomery
Yeah.
Ward.
Robert T. Hall or whatever that was.
I think we used to
Robert
go,
Hall,
Well,
something else.
so
before
St. Louis.
school
I
started, we
remember
go to
Robert
Tom
T. Hall.
McCann's.
Robert T. Hall.
Goldman's, yeah,
Yeah,
Goldman's
I
down in
remember
Festus, Stoll's shoe store.
Right,
Yeah.
Red Robin.
It had,
Yeah,
We get
just
socks
like in
and
the
things at
seventies, you had P and Hearst, you know.
5
P and
to
Hearst,
9.
5 and 9.
Yeah.
We-
Jack and Jill was down there.
There were a lot of places in Festus, and
Yeah, mainly Festus.
not much in Crystal City at the time.
Yep.
Did you attend church in Herculaneum?
Herculaneum Methodist Church, yeah.
First Methodist Church, top of the hill.
I went to Assumption Church.
Yeah, Catholic church for a while, yeah.
Okay. Any special memories of those churches? They're all, well, the Methodist church is still there.
When Beth Sherman got married, John Sherman had church doubled in size, so it would be pretty for Beth's wedding. I got the paperwork over there. So
I remember,
church and the
Dad made a TV stand for the Assumption Church. That's probably one of the few good things he did out in the community. I mean, he could do a lot of like woodworking stuff, and I remember him making that TV stand in the short time I went to school there, but I guess they wheeled it back and forth across the 2 rooms. And that's,
The Assumption always had like a fall banquet or something too.
Mhm.
Chicken fry, and they have all these games set up out there and sell their beer and raffle tickets and
Cape One.
crafts, and that was always a fun time being that close to it, the way we was. And I had a big crowd there too.
It's kind of interesting, most of the churches in Herculaneum that, as we grew up, are gone. You mentioned the Baptist church burning. The Murin Chapel is still
Still
there,
there.
it's probably the oldest building in town,
Right,
you know.
Yep. Assembly God's still there.
Assembly God, yeah, that's up there on St. Joseph in 61, 67. I think I may have asked this earlier, did you participate in any activities around Joachim Creek? I think we probably hit that, but
Yeah, and just fishing and,
Hang out on the dam up there.
Right.
Ice skating, fishing, ice skating, ride your motorbikes on it and stuff.
Hang up there on the dam, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
the dam was always a good
the
place.
dam was always an interesting place, and,
Yeah, I rode my motorcycle on a little mini bike out on it when it was frozen, but my mother never knew that. I probably shouldn't have been doing it, but I did.
Yeah. Do you remember any, and this can go a lot of ways, unforgettable characters from Herky that you remember?
We had Ferguson, was he county? Was he a county cop?
Yeah,
He's a
kinda,
deputy
That's
sheriff.
Deputy sheriff,
Fergie, yeah.
yeah, Fergie, and we had, who was a sheriff for a while, and
Who Douglas was,
Yeah.
and
Who
then we
Douglas?
had
then Barney.
Ollie the plumber that drove the Model T.
Oh,
lived
yeah,
down there on
Dell Street.
Dale
yeah.
Street.
Do you remember his last name?
No, I can't think of
He
it.
lived with Selma Adams, I
Well,
know
we
that.
knew, we knew,
Uh,
but we can't remember what Ollie's name was.
Yeah,
And we had, Mr. Lonzo Murray lived over on Circle Street that did all the photography.
Yeah.
mhm.
I have, you know, Miss Iffy, she was the Avon lady, you know, she
Yeah.
walked around town, a little old lady bent over, she's probably 85 back then, I don't really know how old she lived to be.
Yeah.
Then we had a lady that lived over on Dell Street, we called Miss Earls, which was like,
Yeah.
that's her name, everybody worked for her you could work 8 hours and she'd pay you good a quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
I remember pulling weeds
Oh, yeah, yeah,
for
then,
her, you know.
then, you know, Bill mentioned that Ted, what was Ted's last name?
Ted Juliet,
He was a character, he liked to indulge in a few beverages here and there, and he'd talk to telephone poles and trees, and he would just stop,
Yeah.
he'd always was snapping his fingers like this. And he had a saying, but I can't remember what it was, but he would snap his fingers and, I don't.
Gary Broomba always played Santa Claus.
Yeah,
yeah. Rick ain't unforgettable.
Oh, there's a lot of unforgettable ones. Butch Copeland, he was a
Yeah,
legend.
yeah.
Oh,
Back
Tom
in the day.
Eichenberger, he's the reason we have night crawlers down by the creek. He took credit for bringing the night crawlers in.
Yep.
I mean, there's too many to even think about.
And nobody knows why Dead Man Hollow is called Dead Man's Hollow.
No,
Nobody knows.
lots of
Theories.
theories, but, go back for a minute just to, I forgot what it was now, I was gonna say, you talked about, oh, we'll move on from that.
Remember the footbridge that went when
Yeah.
the Reverend Gaston had his horses and we went through that alley and had that old metal footbridge?
Yeah.
They came over by the Bradshaws and we were always scared to walk
Oh,
across it.
That was a way to get up to the upper part
Was
of
it
town.
hurt? Yep,
Cross that bridge.
yep.
You got any interesting nicknames you might remember from, which will bring you some characters?
Well, my grandpa was Rabbit Simpson, my
Yep.
uncle was Butter Simpson, my cousin Suitcase Simpson, dad was Pete Simpson, I am now Mailbox Simpson. God darn, you had Crawdad Anderson, Pork
Yep.
Chop Manning,
Yep.
they're just, shoot. Keep on with it, Bird.
Popeye Beckett.
Popeye Beckett.
Yep.
Remember Doodlebug?
Yeah,
the
the
nurse?
Yep.
Yeah, my dad's name was Polly, nickname Polly, I had no idea, then Miss Beckett was Sug, I think.
Shug, yeah.
Shug or Sug, yeah.
Shug, yep.
There's probably a bunch of them if you'd stop thinking about them. You know, we go talking about them old buildings, I was trying to think about how many of them old firehouses were sitting around them buildings. Wasn't there like 8 of them built
I
or something?
I think there were 6,
6 or,
yeah.
yeah.
And they were all in that small area. There was one downtown, one by the Catholic Church on the corner,
The one up by Mom and Dad's
up
house.
by her mom and dad's
One
house,
across from Pugs.
across from Pugs.
Yep.
Was there one up on Nassau Street there or Liberty?
Yes, one up there and one up there where the theater is now.
Wasn't there
Yeah.
one over there close to Freiner's or somewhere up in that area too?
No, they didn't, no.
Wasn't one up there? Yeah, those were, I guess back in the day, they just had everything you pull by hand probably, and so they had all these little firehouses with, I guess, a hose and a reel, and
Well, a hose cart like sitting out here, one
Yeah.
of those is
yeah,
from those houses.
that's how
And
they,
pulled it by truck.
and then if there was a fire, the St. Joe Lead employees
Whistle.
would be excused to go fight the fire, I
And they would
believe.
whistle, and we knew what kind of fire it was by how many whistles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was-
Also, they kind of toted the part of town with the whistles, so many
Yeah.
whistles meant
Yeah.
here, there, you know, wherever. Any other nicknames, Barb, you remember?
No,
Jake,
Oh,
Yeah, Jake.
don't even go there. I have a dog named Jake now.
I honestly don't know why you were Jake.
I don't either.
You were. Mary Lynn?
No, you guys pretty much made all of them I knew, you guys knew.
Yeah, okay. Any interesting places, events, oddities that you kind of remember? Mike, you mentioned the barber shop. You remember any oddity about that?
He saved all his hair.
Yeah, Jimmy Pat went to work for his dad. I don't remember what his dad, Buster, was that
Buster,
Buster?
yeah.
And for some reason, they piled their hair up in the back of their shop, and it would get to be 3 or 4 foot tall and 8 feet around. And every now and then they'd haul it off. But you go down there, you just sit in a barber shop, you didn't have an appointment, you might be 10, 15 guys there, you just sit around the barber shop there and wait your turn.
Yeah,
And if you was a little young fart, they had a bench they stuck up on the seat, and your dad would throw you up on that thing. And
you remember him having a shoe shine chair too,
yeah,
that you could sit in. I mean, I don't know if he did many shoe shines, but Buster was gonna build a house supposedly and insulate it with all that hair.
was that what the story was?
That was the story.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Now, he got electrocuted there, right? Is that how he passed away?
Oh, I don't think
I believe
so.
that's what Dad told me.
Well, it might have been. I don't know. That's another character, Buster.
Buster.
Buster, yeah.
Jimmy Pat.
Yeah, oh,
Any other events? You mentioned, I think you mentioned somebody about the Rose City
Well,
Ride.
Rose City Ride,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Carnival every
Then we
year.
had the Christmas tree with Santa downtown in the middle of the wedge down there. I mean,
That was for,
Oh, he's got candy and an
Yeah.
orange and an apple.
that was really a big deal back then. I
Yeah.
think St. Joe Led basically bought all the stockings, the hard how many they bought.
yeah, I think it was the,
In the end, that's
the
thing.
union,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the local,
But people come from St. Louis and all over, you couldn't even stand down that place there, but everybody got stockings, you sit around and sing Christmas carols for a while, and then, of course, then here comes Santa Claus in, and,
yep,
everybody gets their candy canes and stockings. For some of us, that was quite a bit back then, tell you the
Yeah.
truth, it really was.
yep.
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
remember meeting at, I think it was like the KP Hall, and I don't know what organization, but we take a bus up to St. Louis area and ride the Admiral.
Yep.
I mean, that was a big thing for
They had
us
a
also.
Teen Town down there for a while, right?
Yeah.
The Keene
I'm glad
Hall.
you mentioned that, cause I did think of that, and, the other day,
I remember doing that.
riding up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we met at the KP Hall and went to St. Louis and took the train down to St. Genevieve too.
Oh. She just sent me a thing, do you remember the strip joint that ended up at the,
I have no
That
idea
was-
what you're talking
at
about.
the,
Yep,
Which
the
one?
Artesian?
the Artesian, and there was one up by Mom and Dad's house
Oh, yeah,
too.
up there.
Um, next door to Butter.
Tavern.
Butters
Yeah,
Old Tavern,
Butter.
I can't remember what that was.
It's called Pussycats.
Was it? It had several names,
Do
yeah.
you remember like, when we were in school and if you had straight A's, you got Cardinal ball tickets?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
To go to the Cardinal games?
Never got there.
Straight
Oh.
tickets.
You might have had nosebleed
Yeah.
seats, but that was a big treat.
You
It
didn't
was.
get them,
No.
Rick?
No.
Yeah, those were kind of cool things that, done through the school and, but I do remember the Admiral, that was
Yeah, that
early
was a big thing.
'60s.
Yep.
And, it seemed like they took 2 bus loads up there. And,
Yeah.
I remember going on that.
yeah, it was,
And you guys had to wear coats and ties? One time when we went up
not
at
as
night.
kids.
Yeah, well, one time we went up at night because the church kids all went and everybody had to wear a coat and tie to go because you had to go on the dance floor, you had to wear a coat and tie.
Yeah, I never went at night, so.
That was cool.
If you had to, and is there anything else you'd like to throw out there that, we've missed?
Well, we had the victory bell at the school.
Mhm.
A lot of people rang the victory bell. We talked about them and Howard, and another big hill.
That was the thing I was gonna,
Another big thing was a checking office hill over there. We called it checking office.
yeah,
I guess because there was a,
checking office,
is that where they got their checks every day?
yeah.
The big
It's
hill.
where you
there.
checked in to work there.
What do we call the hill in front of Hoot Douglas? It had a nickname too.
Oh, I had a name, but we'll
Oh,
a little racist.
okay.
Yeah.
Believe it.
Yeah, you
I
can't
don't
say that
remember
word.
what
You
Turkey
can't
Hill.
talk-
Yeah.
Turkey Hill, yeah, I can't say that
And you
word.
know, then we're talking about, you know, the events, we had our 175th, you know, anniversary, that was a big deal, the committee, I don't remember who all was on it, but they did one heck of a job, and that was a good 3 or 4 day weekend, a really good blast, we had the Heine Winery going back in, that was good, and then the 200th anniversary was awesome too, cause we had this park down here, it was just completely packed with people, you couldn't see the ground at all. And I remember Dennis Tusserell turning around and telling me, he says, man, this is the greatest day in Herculaneum history. And I agree with him, man, it was like you was walking on cloud nine, it was such a neat feeling down
We had the
there.
Clydesdales and everything.
They had the laser show going that night, the bands, and man, it was just, it was a good week of stuff they had down there. Well, actually, that whole year, Bill's group, they did something every month, they'd have an ice cream social, or just something different every month to try to get the whole community involved in it.
We did the flag raising and it was freezing cold on New Year's Day. And it was like 32 below zero, I swear.
I remember talking to the city of O'Fallon, cause they kinda did the same thing for their 150th. And, I told them what we were gonna do, and, she goes, man, you don't expect much. Well,
Yeah,
it exceeded what I expected, and when I told them how many people we had, they
Yeah.
were like, wow, you
yeah.
know, I can't believe that, but,
Yeah, Mom got all of Dad's brothers and sisters to come home that were still alive for that.
who's that?
Mom got all of Uncle Babe and all of them to come home, all of Dad's living brothers and sisters to come home for that. And her and Aunt Ruth were both the oldest citizens.
Yeah, we did the oldest citizens and, oldest veterans, and,
Yep,
had to
Yeah.
fly
Flyover.
over from the,
Right,
the
Yep.
city was adopted by
airborne group. now.
airborne group out
San
of,
Antonio.
Texas
San
somewhere.
Antonio.
Fort Dye, is it Fort Dye's?
No, in San Antonio, it's,
No, they were out of, yeah, I can't remember now. But they adopted us, they were
Yep.
the Hurt Flyers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, they were, at the time, they were deployed over the Middle East, they never could tell us
when they were
where
coming.
and when.
Somewhere you got a flag with everybody signing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was one outside here that we gave to them, but, yeah, that was an interesting thing that we did.
Yeah, the all-school reunion.
All
Yeah,
school reunion.
yeah, the eclipse, we had the big
The
eclipse.
eclipse, and that's coming up again, not necessarily here, but,
yeah,
It's
pretty
gonna be-
close.
I think we'll be in total darkness for about 3 minutes where
Yeah,
I
that's
live.
pretty good.
You know, when I was on the city board, I gave all these volunteers, I doubled their raise one time, didn't I,
You did.
Nadine?
At Evening with Santa, he did, he doubled our
What'd you
raise.
do?
I doubled their raise. All the volunteers, I doubled their raise that year.
That was
Yep.
very nice of you.
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
I said, Nadine, how much are you making? She says, nothing. I said, okay, I'm doubling that. It was kind of a running joke from then on, yeah. But,
Evening with Santa always turned out to be a big thing.
Yeah.
Halloween hot
Easter
dogs,
bunny.
yeah.
Easter
The
bunny.
Easter egg hunt was a big thing there, and then they had the adult Easter egg hunt. It went over really well too.
Yeah.
That was good.
COVID took a number on several things.
Yeah,
Yep.
it did. Yeah.
Anybody, Bev, you got anything you'd like to ask them, or?
What do you remember about, the mansion at Sherman, on Sherman's Hill and Liberty and Nassau? Why is Nassau, why were there only 3-4 houses on it?
St. Joe built those for the executives. All that, Peppers's house, Clark's house, that was St. Joe built all those, Sherman's house for their executive.
Well, we were told, when we bought that house at 136 Nassau, we were told that belonged to the plant manager, but I don't think Gilo was a plant manager.
Phil Jones, Mr. Jones was.
But was our house the plant manager house?
Mr. Jones lived, no, Joneses
No,
lived
he
in the
was-
next
It was
one.
always the one at the very
Yeah.
end, or the Shermans.
Yeah. But Jones, Mr. Jones was the CFO or whatever he was, and he lived up there too. Where Phil and Pat grew up.
That whole hillside up there was named Big Buck Hill.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
Yeah.
And why is that? What?
Well, the big bucks, all the people that made the money.
Money
lived
up
up
there.
Oh, I was
Big bucks.
thinking deer.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was-
So,
And then the concrete house, the brick houses over there, like Frank Moran and all those guys lived in those houses.
Yeah.
That worked at St.
Oh,
Joe.
Those were
Sherman
basically
Street?
all St. Joe.
That was all
people.
St. Joe houses.
The Sherman House was built, I think, in 1924. When they was auctioning all that stuff off, we went up there through it. I actually got like 3 panes of lead glass out of that at our house there, and they of course they had the swimming pool and tennis court in the backyard. They had a nice cellar over
And nice view of the river.
there, and they was getting ready to tear that down. So Bruce Anderson had the contract to get all the copper flashing and guttering off the roof. That because he bid on it, and they got that. So I walked across the street that one day and was over there, and Bruce's dad, Crawdad, we called him Crawdad, he was up there, and we went up to the 3rd floor and we was watching Bruce and them guys pull it off there. And on the 3rd floor, they had a shuffleboard alley in there. They had boards up like 2 feet or 3 feet around the whole attic up there, and it was all plank, and they'd go up there and play shuffleboard. Well, I looked down in between the wall, the studs, and them boards, and I found these magazines, an old, like Life magazine and a couple of these other ones, and 2 of them were Cardinal programs from 1943 and 1944 when the St. Louis Cardinals played the St. Louis Browns, and then in 1944 when the Cardinals played the Yankees. They were down in that thing there, so I got them at my house actually. One of them they started keeping score in, so you could probably figure out which game that was. But like when the Browns and Cardinals were playing, their programs were different because one was a visiting team and a home team. And then the next time,
World Series.
that was the World Series. Yeah, it was actually the World Series. So, but I got them at the house. So they've been there for a long time now. But that was a neat old house. I wish they wouldn't have tore it down.
Diane, you got any questions?
No, sir, I turned all my questions into.
Nadine?
But I know he does a lot of pretty woodwork.
Yes, he does.
Don't look at me.
I got a shop now and I enjoy doing it. So
I try to keep him busy.
Well, then we need to get those old railroad things up there and let him make our bench now.
well, I was looking at them the other day up there, and I can't figure out what all them spikes are doing coming out of it. If somebody would tell me, I could figure it
It
out.
was for the wood, it was rounded.
Oh,
Why, I don't know.
okay, yeah.
Steve, you got anything you wanna?
No, I think everyone exceeded my expectation here.
Well, then of
Makes
course,
me
up on,
wish I lived here instead of South County.
of course, up on Duncan Drive, we got a state park up there, which is actually the smallest state park in the state of Missouri. Like 14 or 17 acres, but it's
It's got the best view.
the smallest state park in Missouri. It's yeah.
And Mom and Dad lived in the old Levy house. They bought that from Mr. Levy.
Tell me about the development of Dunklin Drive, because those houses were built most of them in the 60s,
Yeah.
70s?
Um,
What was it before?
some in the 50s.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, there was a graveyard up there,
Hmm.
besides Dunklin. There was a graveyard up there. And then Mr. Pullen would buy a house, would build a house, live in it, and then build a Knox house and move in it. And Snake's dad built 3 or 4 of them up there.
Yeah, I've
Mr.
actually
Pullen
built 2
did.
houses up there on Duncan Drive.
I would say the late 50s
And
for
that
some of
was,
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
In the early-
house? That seems like.
They built the house we lived in, Fulton did.
yeah,
But did Norman
And
Shelley
is
live at the very last house?
Yeah.
there, yeah.
Because I can remember going to a birthday party when we were like in grade school.
Oh.
That's
Back there at his
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nadine wrote a book about that house.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
And what's the story about the house that's on Dunklin it's for sale right now? But you can't see it from the street, it's down the hill.
Patty's house.
Yeah.
His old house.
What's the story about? That's so
Right.
odd.
They decided to build it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've never been in. I've seen the deck from the riverfront, but I haven't never. They've had an open house. I was going to go through it. But I looked through a bunch of pictures online of it, but yeah, I don't know.
It
I'd
was,
like to have that view.
That-
I think, but I can't
and whoever
afford it.
bought it did a lot of work on it, and then now they're selling it.
Oh,
Who did?
When somebody's bought it when he died, several years long, but
the judge bought
Mom was still
Yeah.
alive,
it. The
yeah.
judge owns it with
And did,
somebody else.
and did,
Laurel Moore, isn't it?
yeah,
That's kind of an oddity in town.
Yeah.
It is.
House over that bluff.
I don't know where it is.
You can't see it from Duncan.
No.
Just go up and then, we were thinking, you'd have to have a four-wheel drive because it goes like that. And so when
We
it
had a fire truck
snows,
down there at one time.
are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
You know,
Yeah.
we've talked about a lot of this stuff. We had a shot tower over in Herky
Oh,
for years.
Yeah.
They used to have a real neat brass plaque over there for years, and it's gone now, but, yeah, we played on the shot tower, and then, of course, Jesse James Cave is supposed to be over there, and,
Yep.
we just ran up and down the hills. We squirrel hunted and rabbit hunted and deer hunted, and I actually found 2 neat old knives over there, blades, no wood. But my daughter and I was over there hunting back in the probably late 80s, and we wasn't having no squirrel accidents. I said, "Do you want to climb the bluffs?" And she said, "Yeah." So we set the gun down, and we took off up top the bluff, and I kicked up this one blade, and 2 feet from me, she kicked up this other blade. I took him over to Frank Marguerite's when he was still alive to see if he could tell me anything about him. Of course, I don't know really what you could tell about them, but you could tell they're homemade, and it was just odd that we found 2 of them like that right there together.
Now, there was a guy that knew a lot of stuff. It was Frank Marguerite.
Well, we're right at an hour, and if I could have each one of you maybe summarize this in your own words, what it was like growing up in Herculaneum.
I mean, for me, it was special. I've got great pride in saying that I'm from Herculaneum. I did a lot of traveling with work, and somebody had asked me, and I was always willing to talk about it because there's a lot of pride. My memories are Liz and Cecil Partney were a big part of my life, and that was Bill Bradley's aunt and uncle. They did quite a bit around. My dad was on the school board for a while. My grandpa was one of the founding members of, and his pictures over at the golf course, was one of the founding members of the golf course. And just the people I grew up with, Mike and Mary Lynn and Sister Patty and everybody else, I just enjoy it to this day.
Yeah, for me, it's, I just, black cat through and through. I love Herky black cats. You know, St. Joe Lead, the largest lead smelting company in the world, basically. Herculaneum, second oldest community west of the Mississippi. Just a lot of pride when you can say that stuff. And I got 5 sisters. We had a good family. We had a bunch of aunts and uncles. My mother's family, what was there, 13 brothers and sisters?
I think so.
13 brothers and sisters in my mother's family. They, not all of them lived in Herky, but a bunch of them did. It was just a big party every weekend. We'd have a barbecue or something, go swimming at the creeks. I plan on staying here for a few more years, hopefully. I'm good.
Okay. I mean, I love Herky. I have been away for 53 years, and it's been a long time, but you know, the things we used to do, I can remember sweeping dirt to make roads that we'd play with cars, and just doing things with neighbors, kids, and I mean, you could go all over town, you could do whatever. It was just a simple, great life. I mean, it was, I loved school here. And even though I have lived in Henderson, like I said, for 53 years, I live on a farm, Herky is still my home.
Well, the Naucke farm was always a big thing. And then, that's where Cracker Barrel and all that was. Our family's been here forever. And it was just, we were safe. We could go do anything. We knew all of our neighbors knew us. There wasn't any hate. Everybody got along pretty much. And it was nice because we didn't have to worry about anything. And our parents were involved in everything we did. And it was, the library, the churches, we just all hung out. It was too bad kids today can't do that.
You did something wrong, your parents knew about
Before
before
you
you got
get
home.
home. The little bird told on you before you got home. Doc Sin's office, you could go to Doc Sin's office any time of the day. And Marion Cresswell, his nurse, lived on Circle Street. And people would go to her house in the middle of the night for her to sew up their kids' heads and stuff like that all the time. It was funny. They 9 times out of 10, you never saw a bill at a Dachshund.
There's some
And-
good old timers around town.
Yep.
Now we're the old timers.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's why you're being interviewed.
Right.
Well, and St. Joe had the X-ray machine, so when I needed an X-ray, I had to go to the St. Joe medical thing to get my X-rays.
One final question, what do you see in the future for Herky? I know it's changed drastically.
I mean, my only hope is that the port brings some revenue back to the city. We built a new AMVETS post down there, which I think is going to be an asset to the city and, brings more people in town, hopefully to spend a little bit of money or however. I know it's changed so much. All the houses and stuff are gone. I'm just hoping the port really brings in some stuff.
Mike?
Yeah, I would like to, I hope the port does bring us a little bit of economy into the town, but I hope it doesn't bring too much that it runs some of the stuff we got, but there's not a whole lot left on this, east side of town anyways, but, I mean, I wanna see it still grow and get better. I mean, we're kinda landlocked in, so we're gonna have to deal with what we got. In the future, I really wouldn't mind it even if we merge with a couple of these smaller communities. I don't ever see that happening, but I think it may be a good thing for the economy, for just everybody in general, if that might happen. Of course, every little town's got so much pride, I just don't see it happening really though,
Nope.
but I just hope we keep moving forward. A lot of people don't understand that taxes is what makes these little communities go. And you know, we can only tax so much, so we're just gonna have to do with what we got or do without something maybe, so that's just the way it's gonna have to be in town if we don't get more revenue for taxes to keep it growing, so I hope it does grow a little bit better.
Barb?
I would just like to see progress, you know, for the town, the community, and think positive thoughts, you know, and know that there's always a way to make things better. And as long as my brother lives at Herculaneum, I have a place to come visit.
You said a few more years, so. Mary Lynn?
I know I'm leaving, but I'm leaving because my sister had a stroke and I need to go take care of her. But, I just was, the school to keep going forward because the school is doing so well and they're getting quite the reputation. And Herky's getting a reputation of being a good place to live, so maybe we can bring some small businesses in and revitalize the downtown somewhere like we used to have, like the other towns are doing.
Okay, well, appreciate you all coming in tonight, and, it's good, like I say, I know all these people, and like somebody said a while ago, when we did those in 2007, much younger, knock 17 years off your age, and
Yeah.
that's what, you weren't an old person then.
No,
I would like to say one more thing, I don't know if
Okay.
it's still on camera, but actually I had an uncle that was mayor of this town,
Yes,
Bill Burlage.
she did.
Uh,
I
At
think he
one
was
point,
the second mayor, wasn't he?
yeah, he was pretty close, I think Mr. Stoller was the first mayor,
Right.
and
Yeah.
Uncle Bill may have been the second mayor there, so.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you, and, we'll leave it up to Steve to get it uploaded, and.
Let's hope it all went well.
If
Or we'll have to
be back.
redo it.
I enjoyed it.
This is our first one, and wish to thank you all for
The voting place